Good day, everybody. I hope that you're well and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade 8 English lesson on verbals. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once you've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of English language arts. We're doing grade 8, and then we're going to scroll down up until we get to our chapter of verbals. All right. So our chapter is verbals. Our subject is English language arts. We're doing grade 8. All right. So we said we're doing verbals, English language arts, grade 8. And the lessons that we are going to be focusing on under the chapter of verbal is to identify participles and what they modify, and we're going to identify gerunds and their functions. All right, so when it comes to participles, right, it is a verb form that sometimes acts as as an adjective. So participle is a verb form that sometimes acts as an adjective. And we have present participles and we have past participles. A present participle, it is usually the same as the past participle form of the word. Sorry, a present participle, it always ends in ing. And you see that the past participles, it's usually the same as the past tense form of the verb, but sometimes such as broken, taken, seen, grown, and done are irregular participles. And a particular phrase consists of a participle and all its modifiers. And if we look at examples, right, it says that stunning bouquet of tulips was a gift from from Olivia. So that stunning bouquet was a gift from Olivia. And if we look at the participle, right, the participle acts as an adjective modifying the noun bouquet, so which means that stunning it is. So it acts as a adjective describing the bouquet. All right. And then if we look at another example, right, it says filled to capacity. The bus had no room for additional riders. So filled to capacity. The bus had no additional riders. And if we look at that sentence, right, the participle phrase within that sentence, it acts as an adjective modifying the noun bus. So if we look at, once again, if we look at the participle, right, it is a verb form that sometimes acts as an adjective. So it's a word form that sometimes acts as an adjective. We have present participles that ends in ing, and then we have past participles, which is similar or the same as the past tense form of the verb. But now, some of our words like broken or taken or seen or grown or done, right? Those are irregular. And we made an example of the first one where we see that a participle phrase consists of a participle in all its modifiers, and we looked at examples. So for now, let's quickly go to aplusstudents.ca where we are going to be continuing on verbals. So we're going to identify participles and what they modify. All right. So now we're going to look at an example, and we're going to try and select the participle and the participle phrase or the participle phrase within that sentence. It says Charles Adams was an American illustrator and cartoonist famous for his warped sense of humor, which was evident in the ghoulish cast or of characters and creepily funny scenarios of his Adams Family cartoons. So we need to select our participle or the participle phrase within that sentence. And if we were to select our participle or a participle phrase, and then we can say it is warped. It is warped. That is either the participle, that is actually just the participle. So warped is a past participle and it acts as an adjective. We need to select the participle phrase. It says complementary colors are colors that appear on the opposite sides of the color wheel. Shown together in an image, they provide the greatest visual contrast. All right. And if we were to look at our participle, right, within the sentence, we can say our participle is, or let's say the phrase within that sentence is together in an image. So complementary colors are colors that appear on opposite sides of the wheel. Shown together in an image, they provide the greatest visual contrast. So together in an image, that is our participle. And it also has an irregular past participle. All right, let's look at one more and then we're going to our test. We need to select the part of a sentence that the participle modifies. Modifies. It says Maki recommended a website that features breaking news and in depth coverage of national and international politics. We now need to select the part of the sentence that the participle modifies. All right. And if we were to select the participle, right, that modifies, and then we're going to use breaking. Breaking is our participle that modifies, right? It modifies. So now we're going to our test. So we're going to our test where we are going to identify participles and what they modify. All right. So now it says Maki recommended a website that features breaking news and in-depth coverage of national and international politics. We now need to select the part of the sentence that the participle modifies. And if we were to select the correct participle that modifies, and then it's going to be breaking. The next one says breaking, right? So we breaking was the first one. If we look at the next one, right, it says in the late 1800s, companies in the US and Europe manufactured early calculating machines, which eased the workload of payroll clerks, engineers, scientists, and government workers. We now need to select the participle or the participle phrase. Is it eased or calculating? Eased option one or calculating? So is it eased option one or calculating option two? Which one is correct? Something that acts as an adjective. Let's try again. It says which eased the workload, right? But now it says specifically, remember we said a participle is a verb form that sometimes acts as an adjective. Remember, adjectives it describes something like a noun. So Once again, a participle is a verb, right? It's an action that forms or acts as an adjective. An adjective describes a noun, right? And we said even we have present participles, and remember it ends in ing. Is past tense, but it is not the participle. So if we were to choose our current participle, right, our word, we would then go for calculating. Because calculating is a present participle ending in ing, and it acts as an adjective. What kind of machines? Calculating machines. Right, but well done. Yes, so it's option two, but well done. The next one says complementary colors are colors that appear on opposite sides of the color wheel. Shown together in an image, they provide the greatest visual contrast. We need to select the participle or the participle phrase. Is it together in an image or visual contrast? All right. So which one is correct? Together in an image or visual contrasts? And if we were to choose our correct option, together in an image. All right, the next one says Charles Adams was an American illustrator and cartoonist, famous for his warped sense of humor, which was evident in the Gaulish cast of cast of characters and creepily funny scenarios of his Adams Family cartoons. We need to select the correct answer. Is it famous option one or is it warped option two? So famous option one or warped option two. All right, and if we were to select the correct answer, warped is our correct answer. So well done. Warped is correct. All right, so now we need to select the participle or participle phrase. It says runners in middle and long distance track events usually begin from a standing start, but sprinters who need greater initial power for a short dash typically use a crouch start. All right. We need to choose the correct option. All right. And yes, if we were to choose the correct option, then standing is correct. Well done. Standing is correct. All right. So now we're going to identify gerunds and their functions. So a gerund is a verb form that acts as a noun, right? So gerund is a verb form, but it acts as a noun and it ends in ing. It ends in ing. And a gerund is often the subject of a sentence or a clause, an object of a verb, or sometimes it's an object of a preposition. And a gerund phrase consists of a gerund and all its modifiers. All right. If we look at an if we look at an example, right? It says swimming is one of my favorite ways to get exercise. So swimming is one of my ways to get exercise. And if we look at that sentence, right? The gerund within that sentence, it is the subject of the sentence, which is swimming. The next one says Peter enjoys cooking for his family and friends. And if we look at the gerund within that sentence, right? And then the gerund is the object of the verb enjoys. It is the object of the verb enjoys. That is the gerund. And then after staying up all night, Tessa felt completely exhausted. And if we look at what the gerund is within that sentence or phrase, the gerund phrase is the object of the preposition, which is after. So after, which is the beginning of that sentence, and that is an object of preposition. All right. Now we need to say what is the grammatical function of a gerund phrase. In 1993, to meet the demand for better fuel economy, the automobile company Toyota began developing the hybrid car now known as, oh, I don't know if the word is praise. All right. So now, if we look at that specifically, right, it says in 1993, we need to select firstly the grammatical function of the gerund phrase. In 1993, to meet demands for a better fuel economy, the automobile company Toyota began developing the hybrid car now known as the Praise. And if we were to choose the correct either gerund or the grammatical function of the gerund phrase, right, within the sentence, and I think we can use began developing or began. Yeah, began, because that's the object of the verb, began. All right. After the budget crisis, the city of Norwood stopped funding the construction of bike lanes and crosswalks. All right. So it says after the budget crisis, the city of Norwood stopped funding the construction of bike lanes and crosswalks. And if we were to look for or look at a specific sentence, right? Not a sentence, but the word or phrase within that sentence, and then we can say it is funding the construction of bike lanes and roads. That is our gerund phrase. That is basically the verb form that acts as a noun. And we started with funding. We said funding, ing. Remember, we said that our gerund is a verb form that acts as a noun phrase that ends in ing, right? And sometimes our gerund can be the verb phrase or an object of a verb. An object of a verb sometimes is that whole phrase. All right, so now let's go to our test where we are going to identify gerunds and their functions. All right. So now it says after the budget crisis, the city of Node stopped funding the construction of bike lanes and crosswalks. walks. We need to select the gerund or the gerund phrase. Is it option one, after the budget crisis? So is it after the budget crisis, option one, or option two, funding the construction of bike lanes and crossroads? Option two. Which one is correct? All right, yes. And if we were to choose the correct option, we'll go with option two, funding the construction of bike lanes and crossroads. Remember, we said the gerund starts with ing. So that is the gerund and its phrase. So well done. Option two is correct. After the budget crisis, what is the grammatical function of the gerund phrase? The grammatical function of the gerund phrase. So it says we now need to look at what is the grammatical function of the gerund phrase that says after the budget crisis, the city of Norwood stopped funding the construction of bike lanes and crossroads. Is that a subject? Is it an object of a verb? Or is it a object of a preposition? Funding the construction of bike lanes and crossroads. So we said funding the construction of bike lanes and crosswalks. Is that a subject? Is that an object of a verb? Or is it an object of a preposition? All right. And if we were to choose the correct option, and then we will say this is an object of a verb, funding the construction. Yes. Before signing with Brooklyn Dodgers, Jackie Robertson played football for a semi professional team in Hawaii. We now need to select the gerund or the gerund phrase within that sentence. Is it signing with the Brook Dodgers or Jackie Robertson played football. Remember we said a gerund starts with there's an ing in it. All right. And if we were to choose our correct option, then we can say option one. Yes, that is correct. So signing with the Brooklyn Dodgers. Well done. But now, signing with the Brooklyn Dodgers, this is now the last one. Signing with the Brooklyn Dodgers, is that a subject? Is it an object of a verb? Or or is it an object of a preposition? So when we say before signing or signing with the Brooklyn Dodgers, is that a subject? Is it an object of a verb? Or is it an object of a preposition? All right, so this is, we said it is an object of preposition. Before signing, yes, well done, before signing. All right, so this is now the end of our lesson on gerunds and basically verbals, right? And we specifically spoke about participles and we spoke about gerunds, right? Yes, object of preposition is correct. So we said a participle, right, is a verb form that sometimes it acts as an adjective, but it's actually a verb form. We have present participles that also ends in ing, and then we have past participles that mainly it basically also takes the function of a past tense form of a verb. And then we have gerunds, right, and their functions. And we say gerund is a form of a verb or a verb form that acts as a noun and it ends in ing. A gerund can either be a subject, it can be a sentence or clause, it can be an object of a pronoun, or it can be an object of a preposition. All right, so this is the end of our lesson. Thank you very much, grade 8s, for joining the class. And I really hope you're going to have a good day further. Goodbye.